Alright, hey everybody, welcome back. So we're going to look at a build that I did, well, an attempt at a build. I think it's pretty good actually, and it's pretty accurate. We're looking at a build called No Count, or Patch, or Patches, the ever so popular character from FromSoft. Yay! And he's even kind of like good at running away too, it's funny. So let's go ahead and get into the actual design a little bit. So we're gonna start with the weapons, because they were kind of the easiest thing to get going. We got the Harris for the linear rifle Harris. This thing's kind of like closest thing to a sniper rifle that we have in the game, I'd say. That and the Curtis, but I wanted a little bit more power. I wanted this thing to be usable. I mean, the Curtis isn't bad. It actually has its own advantages. Helps you be a little bit faster if you want, but we're gonna go with the Harris. And after that, on the other arm, went with the laser rifle because, well, his original build in Armored Core 4, well, 4th gen Armored Core, it had a sniper rifle on the right arm and it had a laser rifle on the left arm. And the laser rifle it had, I'm pretty sure it was the very first laser rifle you get. It might not have been the very first one, so I went with the VP66LR, partly because I think it's the closest one to the same laser rifle, but also because it's kind of a good idea to like mix it up, since I have the Curtis on the one hand, or is it the Harris on the one hand, and I might as well put a slightly weaker version on the other hand so that I have something that I can rapid fire a little more. On the shoulders, we got nothing on the right side. He used to have a radar on the right side, and we don't have radars anymore. We don't really need them. I know people are complaining about not having radars. We kind of do still have one. It's just harder to see. It's down in the compass at the bottom. It's based on your facing, so you still have to look around, and you also have to kind of pay a little more attention to it and be able to use it. It did kind of affect the build, I'll give it that. It made it so that the build isn't going to be quite as accurate as it should be. And going on that, we have the left shoulder. Now, to make this more accurate, we would go with the first homing missile launcher, and the reason for that being is his left shoulder originally had an AS missile launcher on it, which is a single missile that comes out per launch. They do act a little bit differently from each other, the AS missiles and the homing missiles. You know, the homing missiles actually require a lock ahead of time. The AS missile will gain its own lock and go to the nearest enemy that it can. But I wanted to use something a little bit beefier, so we'll fire two of them. So it's kind of an upgrade to No Count. Moving on to the head. Now, this was another challenge I was running into in this build, was the head, because the original head uses tech that isn't in this game also. Again, he was kind of a long-range build before, so he kind of had tech that was like helping that. He had a radar, and his head was kind of like the finder eye, except it had a useful like scope function or something. I can't remember what the name of it was. It didn't zoom in, but it did help with increasing range of the effective range of his weapons. But to go with like the closest to like looks, and as well as looks kind of usefulness, I just decided to go with the finder eye. On the core, we're going with the Tian Qiang. That's the one time I'm gonna try to pronounce that. I'm sorry. The Dafeng core that is by that name up there, that's on the screen. Reason being is this actually looks a lot like the core that he had, and I think his core itself was a bit beefy. I'm actually really surprised how well this all came together. It's like they were trying to let us make this thing. Arms, we have Nocturire. Now, his arms don't look exactly like this, but I kind of figured for practicality, we're going to go with these arms just because the firearm specialization is maxed out, as you can see. He doesn't have melee, so there's no point in focusing anything on melee. He could stand to have a little more AP, but I think the firearm specialization is where we needed it in order to make this more functional. And for the legs, he was a reverse joint, so in order to make him work and not be stupid heavy, I went with the Mine Beta legs. Them's right there. On the the booster, this was a little bit of a hard choice. His schematic, I could look it up and everything, but I ended up kind of going with this one just because I like that it has a nice hard quick boost thrust to it, and it's got a decent top speed to it also. He can get where he needs to go pretty quickly, even if it uses a lot of energy to do so. And speaking of energy, oh, not quite. Speaking of the FCS, we're using the VE21A just because that long range assist, baby. I thought about switching it up to the Fortress model, the VE21B, which gives you a little more in the medium and a little more missile lock correction, because we do actually have missiles, but the missiles are really only kind of there to be menacing, to make your opponent not want to get hit by him, honestly. Then we went with this generator because it was actually, at the time when I was making it, it was the generator that worked the best, but actually now that I have it complete, there might be another generator that could potentially work better, but this generator does have that sweet little energy firearm specialization that gives us a bonus to our energy gun on our left hand, so it being the weaker gun of the two, this actually helps it a lot. So I'm gonna leave it that way and not go red shift or with any of the other lighter options that might actually make me a bit faster, quite a bit faster. 329, this thing is so much junk though. Alright, moving on. And for the expansion, I actually haven't really given this much thought. I just kind of stuck with assault armor because that's kind of what Armored Core 4 had, was assault armor. None of the others were really quite what that is in Armored Core 4. So that's what we have for our build. And in the paint, it's almost black. It's not black. It's like really close to black, but dark blue. We'll go ahead and just go into this real quick and I'll show you. We got R2, G23, B39. And then for the sub, it's 174, 174, 174. Support and optional technically are supposed to be the same as the main. It's just kind of hard to get it exactly when you're using the slider. And the other, honestly, I was trying to go for the same color as the sub too, but I don't even think you can really see the other. And for the device, I went with green because I just thought it looked good. And we went with no pattern because he has no pattern, and we're not gonna weather him. We could weather him. It could make it kind of neat to weather him up a little bit, but we're not gonna do that. And his weapons do match, as they should. So let's go ahead and get into some matches.